Hi everybody, my name is Justin. Welcome to Game On, the show all about tabletop gaming from RPGs to board games and everything in between. We are just wrapping up one of our days here at Necronomicon 2024, Providence, Rhode Island. We got a fun little wristband. But just because our day is winding down, it is the beginning of this video, so I'm going to take it to Justin in the editing room.
Hey, thanks real life, Justin. This is editing, Justin. I'm here in my editing booth. So yeah, Necronomicon 2024 in Providence, Rhode Island, right down the street from Lovecraft's house that he was born in and where he lived, and his grave. Fortunately, I didn't get to go to any of those because we only went for a day and it was already quite jam-packed. That was a very busy day. So we got to experience a whole bunch, and by we, I mean my wife and I, Renee, got to experience kind of our fellow peers who really enjoy the cosmic, weird horror fiction kind of stuff, like Lovecraft wrote. I will say that this had some things that regular horror fans would like, but it's not like the Connecticut Horror Fest is the best one that I can think of off the top of my head. It's not necessarily like a, hey, let's look at all this blood and gore kind of horror. It's more of like that cosmic horror, Lovecraft and his contemporaries. But you wouldn't be out of place if you went there and you were wearing like a Friday the 13th shirt or something. But we got to go to a really cool panel. We got to go to two. But the first panel we went to was what it's like to publish an indie RPG or an indie game or even like a kind of an indie e-zine or gazetteer kind of thing. And wait a second, is that XP Lovecraft? It is, actually. I got her to sign my Call of Cthulhu rulebook. So there we learned a lot about just how difficult it is to be an indie publisher and what it takes to come together as a company and publish something either under your own name or for somebody else. Like if you got the license to Chaosium's Call of Cthulhu, or to, you know, a Paizo publishing for their Pathfinder game. We learned a lot about, even though it has gotten much easier thanks to print on demand, things like Drive-Thru RPG, DM's Guild, it is still not as easy as one may think. We learned everything there was to know about why Kickstarter is a pain in the butt, but also how important things like that are. We also learned about how important it is to be a team and how hard it is to compile everything, keep everybody in the loop, and push the game out on time. Renee and her family, they have a small publishing company themselves, so I was like, hey, let's go there. I think that you would like this, and she did. She found a lot of what she heard helpful. I've never published a game. I maybe I want to someday, who knows. Everybody wants to, right? But from what they said, it's very difficult, but it has gotten a lot easier. I even asked them if it was easier for them to have people like me on YouTube talk about their games, or if it's easier for them to put out e-zines or put ads and things, or put ads in convention pamphlets like we got here, which I'll show you in a second. It was really cool, and it was really enlightening. So just a quick overview of this program guide. It was fancy, to say the least. There's a lot of really cool things in here. Kind of some short stories that some of these writers have written, some of the panelists. There's a lot of really beautiful artwork in here as well. This is kind of the fancy part of it. There is the actual program guide, which has the maps of Providence and where to go and see the short films or some of the old school films that are like black and white of kind of weird science-y movies. It's really cool. Of course, there's some coupons on here for local restaurants so that you can get something yummy to eat. We filmed the intro in front of the Biltmore Hotel. So the Biltmore Hotel was part of the Necronomicon. That's where actually all the panels that we went to were. Beautiful. This hotel it has that like 1920s like jazzy, swingy kind of feel, maybe more swing than jazz. But anyway, it had like those desk lamps that you can think of, like when you think of like the 20s, where it's like with those green shades, and it had like smoking chairs, and it had this beautiful, beautiful glass elevator that went to the top. Could not use it. I do believe it is not working. I didn't see anyone else use it, but it is. The Biltmore Hotel is so beautiful. And actually, the Biltmore Hotel is also where all the gaming was. We didn't have time to game, plus most of the games, well actually all the games, filled up really quickly. Apparently those games just filled lickety-split because there's a lot of really cool stuff going on there. We had a lot of Call of Cthulhu. There was some Delta Green being played. I think there was definitely a D&D game that was using kind of the Cthulhu mythos as the main antagonists. And there were a couple other RPGs that I hadn't even heard of, so that's pretty cool. I got to meet the creators of a role-playing game. It's called a tabletop list role-playing game called the Enclave. Or sorry, just Enclave. I'm going to do a video on that because the creators, I got them to sign my book, by the way. One of the co-creators, Lee, has a spiel, whom you're kind of seeing right now, but I'm going to do a whole video dedicated to it, just because I want to give them the time that I think they deserve, because they gave me a lot of their time. We also got to hang out with a really cool mini designer called Cramped Hands. I want to let you know that none of these guys are sponsoring this video, but I just wanted to let you guys know. These are really cool creators. Cramped Hands, he does pretty much print-on-demand 3D minis for you, but he also creates them all, so they're not like stolen, or not stolen, but they're not somebody else's property rights. Like, he comes up with all these all by himself. So stolen was definitely not the right word there, but these are all original to him. And I bought a really cool spider thing that I'm going to be using for one of my games soon. Actually, I'm going to be using it for a Star Wars game, but he's got really cool things, so if you guys want to check him out, he has really good pricing, and he'll print things for you. We also got to check out something called the Cursed Dice Company. Pretty cool dice. They had some trinkets, like a pocket watch that had dice in it, which I thought was really cool, and he had dice that, well, everyone likes metal dice, or really cool acrylic dice, so I liked his stuff. Now, before we went to our second panel, we went through kind of the exhibit hall where they sell things. The vendor exhibit, I guess I should call that. And boy, oh boy, was there a lot of stuff. So if you do like horror in general, you probably could have found your Friday the 13th statue or shirt there if you wanted to. But this is a lot of Lovecraft stuff. There were really cool things. I got to stop by the Chaosium table, and I was oohing and eyeing over a lot of things. And a lot of things were on sale there because of the convention, but I ended up skipping buying something from there because I saw that they had a table where some of the panelists from the first panel were there. Stygian Fox was there, and the other small indie publishers were there too, where I bought a really cool Call of Cthulhu module called The Dare, which is Halloween night, haunted house, whether you live to see the morning. So it is the the quintessential haunted house Call of Cthulhu kind of game where you play as kids. So if you guys want to see a full-on kind of review or talk on that, let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to hit that like and subscribe if you want to see stuff like that. The next table that I saw that I really wanted to buy something from was Goodman Games. For those of you who don't know, they make Dungeon Crawl Classics, which I have up there somewhere. Dungeon Crawl Classics made something called Mutant Crawl Classics, which uses the Dungeon Crawl Classics rules, but is kind of the spiritual successor, I guess, to Gamma World, which is like the post-apocalyptic gonzo, everything is crazy world, where in this game you can play as a bug, you can play as a plant, you can play as a robot. It's basically just crazy stuff. If you want to hear me talk about Mutant Crawl Classics, let me know in the comments below. So the second panel I went to was on editing weird fiction. That was really cool. And wait a second, is that Mike Mason? It is Mike Mason. He is one of the co-authors, head editors, and just a big writer for Call of Cthulhu. I got him to sign my book. I don't really fanboy over a lot, but I was kind of drooling over that. It was really fun to hear these guys talking about how challenging it can be to make horror and weird fiction like this more mainstream. There was a guy who put together an anthology series where he knows Stephen King and he edits for Stephen King, and he's even rejected Stephen King stories, which is a flex. There was a young woman who grew up, I think it was in Tennessee, and she was big part of the weird fiction community for the Black community, and kind of using, I guess, local folk tales and kind of pushing that out and getting more authors of color, more recognition in the horror genre. And it was just really cool. And in general, the vibes of Necronomicon were really nice. I didn't meet anyone there that had any rudeness whatsoever. I've gone to conventions where I have been shoved, pushed, moved aside. Everybody there I got bumped into a couple times, and each and every single time somebody said sorry. In general, the vibe was just cool. I didn't feel uncomfortable at all. I have felt uncomfortable at some conventions. This one was great. I really suggest going to Necronomicon. If you like HP Lovecraft and his contemporaries, I will say that the contemporaries of Lovecraft are a lot better than Lovecraft himself because he's a jerk, racist person. But this is a celebration of the legacy of the work that he made, and Cthulhu and Azathoth and Nyarlathotep, and the contemporaries that wrote to expand the mythos, King in Yellow, that kind of stuff, Delta Green. So, if you really like this kind of stuff, cosmic horror, weird fiction, even kind of some steampunk weird, diesel punk, nuke punk kind of stuff, you'd like this. So I highly suggest going. If you guys want to hear anything more about this in detail, let me know in the comments below. But thank you guys as always. If it weren't for you guys, I probably wouldn't have gone. Only because some of the money that I got from Patreon helped to pay for some of this. So thank you to my Patreon subscribers. And I want to thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. And as always, game on.